Howard. I can't find that thing. All right. Well, one thing that the, huh?
It's 10 clicks away to find.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Well, one thing that just to speak abstractly a little bit is that these technologies are challenging our daily rituals. We don't think we have. We wake up in the morning, we have breakfast, right? And then we go to our work, and then we have lunch, and then we work some more, and then we get off, and we go to dinner, and then well, these technologies have completely changed that. My students, and they know this, it's very sad to admit this, but they will get an email at 3 in the morning from me. I don't live by a 24-hour clock because I have people all over the world that I email, so I am emailing them maybe on like Skype. My 3 o'clock is their 3 in the morning. This is being challenged. Our idea, the way you were raised, the culture that you were raised in that said, morning's time for breakfast. This you do this, and Saturday you do that. Well, these rituals are being challenged. It's every day Saturday. Every day is the right time to be on email. Every moment. So that's one thing. And again, it doesn't seem like it would be a threat. But keep in mind that still people, a majority of people on this earth still live by rituals and cycles. We may not. The generations that are using this may not be free of time. But the people you're going to be living with, maybe the young people that are not on the internet as much, they still are part of that ritual and learning those rituals of when to do things, how, when you have to do something, when you don't. Keep that in mind. The other thing is extensionality. It's definitely challenging the geo and cultural boundaries. I mean that people now, the benefit, of course, is people are able to find common understanding beyond geography or beyond language, but it does create the possibilities for clash as well, for conflict. When you are now suddenly, now, in a sense, you're able to extend yourself in places that you don't know very well. Just because you have a rocket ship that can take you to Mars doesn't mean you can breathe on Mars. And this is the question too. Because these technologies can get you in any network, anywhere, doesn't necessarily mean you can survive in that network, in a sense, or be successful in that network. So you have to be careful about that. Interaction, challenging inequalities. This is a good thing, but also in a sense, if you're in a organization where people have set roles, where managers are managers and lieutenants are lieutenants, and workers are workers, this can challenge those interactions because now workers can talk with each other. They don't have to go through middle managers or managers, right? In a sense, it can collapse hierarchies, which again I recommend is something that any organization that's being run in an old style of hierarchies of representatives will have to deal with. Signification is challenging, I said challenging our hierarchies in this sense, that usually it is the top. The way we get culture is mediated by people that can afford to create movies, news and networks, and also knowledge. These things are highly, highly elite groups, universities, Hollywood, right? Well, these technologies, obviously like YouTube, now people are able to, anyone can create product, cultural product. And so anyone can create metaphor, in a sense, create a propaganda tool. That's a good thing in a way, but it also can get you in trouble as well. Keep that in mind. If everyone can create culture, create propaganda, then you can create propaganda that helps you, but people can create very easily propaganda that's against you as well, just to keep that in mind as well. And finally, identity. Challenging sense of self. This is a challenge that people have been dealing with. Social scientists and psychologists have been dealing with this for a long time. The quick change. I think some of you remember the time when you graduated your college. Would you call it college or high school here in your countries? High school, college, secondary,
High school, secondary.
high school, and then you went to college.
University.
University. You went to university. Do you remember what that felt like to go to a strange place? The changes, bigger, serious, right? Now, you may have been trained your whole life to do that, but imagine that every day you're going to a new school. It plays havoc on your identity. The internet is changing so quickly. There's more possibilities. You have to upgrade. It's almost like having to change your identity all the time. And of course, people do, because they can have multiple identities, they have a couple of Facebooks or a couple of MySpaces. I'm not going to ask how many you people have. I'm not going to ask that. But it does put pressure that people now are creating new identities, and also they have to recreate their identities because things are changing so quickly. So that's something to think about as well, that these technologies are offering a lot, but they're also challenging the way we used to it. Now, this is the big question. How can new media technologies further your organizational goals? Has anyone seen this movie Up in the Air with George Clooney?
Yeah.
Do you remember what it's about? Do you remember?
It was about fast living, I think he was educating.
Firing people.
Yeah. By Skype.
He was educating people, but
Of their new opportunities.
in the end, he made something different. As is.
George Clooney plays this fast-moving person who lives in airports, and he does something very specialized. He fires people. He fires them face to face. I don't know you. I'm sure you're a nice guy, but we no longer have a job for you. Here's a new job, right? So he does this face to face, right? But the company he works for just got a new person from a very good school who says we shouldn't be firing people face to face. It costs too much money because George Clooney has to fly here, fly there. So let's cut cost. Let's do it over Skype. So I'll fire you. You get on that computer. I'll get on that, and I'll fire you this way. It was in a sense trying to take advantage of the technologies available to streamline a business. And of course, in the movie, it doesn't work. In the movie, it doesn't really work because you need that. There's some things. The movie argues. I'm not arguing that. But the movie argues that there's some things that still need face-to-face. That when you do something so personal, like firing somebody or breaking up with somebody, although I'm sure people have been broken up by Skype or phone, but there are some personal things, so there are some limitations. So the question is this: the things that your organization has depended on that are face-to-face, like for example coming here and seeing each other face-to-face as opposed to Skyping a meeting, which you may try in the future, may not. This is something to think about what are the things that are so valuable that are important to do not online. That online sounds like a good thing because it'll be cheaper. It'd be cheaper to do that than bring you all here, right? But it may not make sense. Now I say the movie argues this because I don't argue this. I would not dare to argue this because this could be a reality of our generation. Maybe 30, 40 years in the future, people are be more socialized to be interacting online, and so they wouldn't be a shock to be fired online. But at least this movie is talking about a certain time and place, and it is suggesting that in a way the technology may be alluring, but it may actually not work for your organization. So keep this in mind, and the movie is also not a bad movie. It's a pretty good movie also as well. So this is my suggestion, my humble suggestions, a checklist for any organization that's thinking specifically, of course, for this organization, is understand that your goals in this new internet age and this Web 2.0 and soon Web 3, your goals might have to be a bit flexible. You know, right now I think the goal, as I can articulate it, is using sports to socialize younger people into the values that are important in the future for them: networking, collaborating, overcoming obstacles. These wonderful things that I got from sports, and still people get from real sports, not from video games. Right? I think that's the idea. Right? Not cyber, but really. And also they get exercise, and it's good for their body, and it's good for their mind too. But in a way that right now sports is your vehicle, but in the internet age, you have the opportunity possibly to think about other ways. And Toby and I were talking about it this way. This is a suggestion, not that you should. Maybe sports is the thing you do. But it's possible that you might imagine other kinds of activities that kids like to do because you can do that. And your kids are going to be on the internet as well. And they might say, sports is not for me. I want to do cooking, or I want to do camping, or I want to do something else. Well, that's something to think about also. The means will be changing. As I said, this technology is changing so quickly. I'm talking about what I just talked to you about today. I think it's outdated already. It's very possible that by the time I put together this presentation, it's outdated now. Web 3, will maybe change all this stuff. And the means of which you communicate may have to be challenged too, so keep that in mind. And feedback, that's the one thing that people have predicted, that in this internet age, it is about, as they said in that beautiful, that was produced by my colleagues in LA, the nice music and the nice images of new media. But it is about inclusiveness. Because the technology allows anyone to chime in, to contribute, that it does benefit an organization to open up those lines and not try to limit that. To take the leap in a way, to accept that people have feedback and they can express their opinions and have a place to do that. Whether it's a feedback box or a place where people can say, I'd like to do this, or suggestions. Definitely this is something that people accept, and this is maybe why Egypt erupted in a revolution, because they didn't have feedback. And then actions. This is debatable whether it's decisive, because I've just managed, you've got to be flexible, you've got to be changing, but decisive. This is rather a paradox, because you're decisive in a moment, but you may have to reevaluate that as things change as well. I hope I've been as abstract and general as I possibly can. But we'll see. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And I want to ask you, I talked very fast, but is there something I said that was not understood, or is there a question you might have about what I said? Because I'd be happy to answer a question if you have. Right on. Very good. Okay, let's have a discussion, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you need to change this this video, or this is fine?
No, we don't have to change it, but I would suggest that we get